How can a country like India allows a violence of this scale to go on for 2 years? How is that the state is not able to organize these things to contain the violence? That's the failure. Have at least the sincerity to say, "Kaise solve karna?" So, cutting across cross-section of the people, Prime Minister should start talking. The then CM of Manipur said, whatever he was doing is with the consent and the advice of Modi-Ji and Amit-Shah-ji. This is on record as their Friday men to run the show. He must be doing his own little game in the larger chessboard of this whole crisis. How is that people have been allowed to roam around with guns? This is not the banana republic. I've been saying that you have turned. So the union government is involved. You must ask, despite all this presence of troops.
Lot has been said about Manipur violence. Almost 2.5 years later, there is still no clear picture whether the violence was spontaneous or planned. The systematic hate campaign between the two communities still goes on, it still continues. The Prime Minister of India, Mr. Narendra Modi, is slated to visit Manipur almost after 2.5 years. I'm joined by INC, that is the Indian National Congress Member of Parliament from Manipur, Bimol Akoijam. Sir, thank you so much for speaking to Indian Express. First thing that I would ask you is that, you have been saying that the Prime Minister should apologize for his silence. Apart from sending troop deployments to Manipur, what could have the Prime Minister have done differently?
No, see, there are a lot of things that could have done. The simple logic, if you think about it, India is not a stranger to communal violence. We have seen in Godhra, we have seen, it's part of the history of this country, at least as historians will remind us, from the 1920s onwards, the second half of the 20s especially. This communal riots has been part and parcel of this country, and you see the colossal violence during partition of this subcontinent as well. But you will see that except for that partition period, most of the violence we control it, because that's what the state is. You have all the machineries to control it. You shouldn't forget that state claims a monopoly of the legitimate use of physical force. That's how you control the things. It barely goes for 3 days, 1 week, but how can a country like India allows a violence of this scale to go on for 2 years? And people in military fatigue roaming around with arms and others is directly challenging the authority of the state. And how did Indian forces have allowed this? You remember that besides a troop being sent in right from the midnight of the 3rd itself of May 2023, you shouldn't forget that we have 2 divisions in Manipur in such a small state. You have 2 divisions, one of the regular army 57 mountain divisions, and you have IGR South. These are 2 divisions, and you have additional forces being sent in, and you have state police. How is that the state is not able to organize these things to contain the violence? That's the failure.
But that was the responsibility of the state government.
You should remember that it is the state, that's what we are saying. It's a very convenient tool. I'm not defending the failure of the state government. They were in hand in glove with the union government. What the rest of the country doesn't or want to still acknowledge is that the government of India is involved right from the day one.
Why do you say that?
This is quite obvious. They have changed officials of the law and order is almost taken over. Some of the media houses celebrated it. Article 355 being invoked and so on, which is not true. And so the directly center has been involved, and the Union Home Minister Amit Shah then said on the floor of the house that the CM is cooperating. That means whatever center is already involved, they are telling them to do whatever is to be done. And similarly, the then CM of Manipur said, whatever he was doing is with the consent and the advice of Modi-Ji and Amit-Shah-ji. This is on record. Dono record mein hai, this both are on record. One is on the floor of the house. Amit Shah says that the CM is cooperating. Why should we dismiss him? Kehne ka matlab hai, that means the union government is directing the show. He was there as their Friday men to run the show. He must be doing his own little game in the larger chessboard of this whole crisis. So the union government has been involved. Law and order has not been functioning there. Yet no action has been taken. They said that troops have been sent. So fundamental question I am saying the rest of the country must ask this. Two divisions of armed forces. You pumped in CRPF, Rapid Action Force, regular army from the adjoining states. You pull in troops right from the midnight of 3rd of May. How is that people have been allowed to roam around with guns? This is not the banana republic. I've been saying that you have turned. So the union government is involved. You must ask, despite all this presence of troops, how did so many lives have been lost? And 60,000 people were uprooted.
Do you think that center should have, done away with Mr. Biren Singh earlier? They took quite some time. It was done, I mean,
You should ask them.
Because they were of the viewpoint, as you are rightly pointing out, that he was cooperating and he was doing whatever he was being asked to do.
So that means the central government is equally responsible. Because think that what that state government was doing is under their direction. एडमिट तो किया ना उसने फ्लोर ऑफ द हाउस में वो कोऑपरेट कर रहा है उसका कहने का मतलब क्या है what does it mean by that the CM is cooperating with us? And similarly CM on record says that whatever he was doing is on the advice and the consent of the Prime Minister and the Home Minister.
See when we talk
and if you juxtapose this issue along with this question, I am saying there's so many troops, yet you see like a third world or country where some people can challenge the authority of the state with arms all around. Some people have tried to even communalize these issues by picking up on one community, not on the other. You can see that armed men have been moving around. They are running the show, whether it was in Churachandpur or it's More or Tengnoupal or Imphal or Bishnupur. It's everywhere. But some communally minded and ideologically driven people are trying to create problem by communalizing even this basic question. Instead of asking why these armed people were allowed, you pick up one community's armed members. You understand? So everything was involved. I think the countries also is involved. I am saying this, had this been a foreign country, I would not have point fingers. This is part of this country, I have been saying it.
But now do you think that the Prime Minister is going things,
I don't
is it a positive step, things will change on
I
ground?
Would have said
because critics are not very hopeful also.
See, that's what, I'm sorry, see, I don't want to waste time talking about this more because I have said in the first time when I was heard,
yes,
I said this on the national media, I was heard, I meant it. It's feel like we have been abandoned. In 1962 or in you have this sense of abandonment that we felt. We felt the same thing. Manipuris have been abandoned. We have been allowed to be slaughtered with each other as if there is no state.
So, okay, fine.
So what I'm saying is that then I said, if you remember in my floor of the house, I say now it doesn't matter whether he comes or
not.
He doesn't come. I've said this on the floor of the house the last time. But now that you are asking this visit, I see the same attitude. If you are genuinely trying to do, why should you have a stopover for a few hours? You should have a dedicated visit to the state and then make sure that you meet prominent citizens, political parties, including my party's leader, and honestly things, abhi ho gaya, jo bhi ho gaya, past is past, what can be done? What should we do together? What as then maybe I have made mistakes here. You do that one. Genuinely, if you have the real intention, then you would have done this. Concrete steps.
But if we talk about certain...
you don't see. But it's a public meeting, I heard.
Yes, it's a public meeting. Churachandpur, yeah.
No, Churachandpur is visiting and he's
addressing people.
We don't need this. I need the Prime Minister to sit down with the officials, political party leaders, civil society leaders, meet them, assure them that he is here as the Prime Minister of the country. I don't see him as only a BJP.
But the Union Home Minister had made a couple of visits there and he spoke to...
He said that he will come 15 दिन के बाद आएगा कहकर गए थे, वापस नहीं आया, इलेक्शन के दौरान वो इलेक्शन कैंपेन के लिए आए थे. He came, he first came and stayed there and then he left. He said that he would come back within 15 days. He didn't turn up. He came during the election to campaign.
Okay. So, what specific policy failures do you feel as a Congress MP of the center, particularly of the Union Home Ministry? Because they have taken some steps. Last time the Union Home Minister had also asked people to, surrender arms. Now that the government has come up with some kind of an understanding about the SU agreement also, and National Highway 2 also opening up.
This, I think the rest of the country is still largely ignorant about these issues.
Hmm.
I'm sorry to say this.
Yes. Hmm.
What are these two groups?
Hmm.
There have been allegations of their involvement. There are pictures, people are pointing finger, this is one of them.
Hmm.
Who's with an assault rifle. Some people are seen on the 3rd of May in the afternoon, and that went viral, and that's how the reaction happened in Imphal. Something is no longer the normal riots or violence between, civilians. There are armed groups involved. That's the first thing. Anybody who has the honesty, an iota of honesty in their heart, they would have seen that that was one moment where the things should have been very clear. This is not going to be a normal riot. There are arms groups involved. The first indication is in the Torbung areas where you see armed men, Kuki armed men, assault rifle holding, and people are now identifying some of them. Okay, that picture then led to this looting of arms in the Imphal. Looting of arms also happened in Churachandpur and other areas. But how this violence and how the sequence of events have happened, and most importantly, all of this was allowed to happen by the Indian state, where you have two governments cooperating with each other, Delhi and Manipur. Some people have pointed fingers to Manipur government just to serve their communal agenda. Manipur government, then it was involved in their failures, quite obviously. But these should not the dynamics. That he was working with the instructions of the Delhi authority.
Hmm.
And then these things had been allowed, people were allowed to be slaughtered. In Churachandpur, it was dismantled after the initial period of violence, right under the nose of the administration. Meitei residential areas were flattened.
Yes. Hmm.
It is not either or. I am saying it, some vested interests have been creating a narrative, continuously this either or binary, instead of asking fundamental question like, how is that the state troops, Indian army, 2 divisions and pumping in troops did not stop? You must make accountable for this, all the officials. Political executive who have not taken appropriate actions, any LS involvement of them must be fixed accountability.
Do you think that
Now, we don't ask questions like this. We say, ye Kuki ne ye kiya hai, Meitei ne kiya. You keep on positioning in this binary.
Yeah.
Ask them. Where was the first time you saw these armed men? What could be the impact of that as an administrator? What did you see in that armed men? You see, then you have these innocent people. This is turned into a communal frenzy. And we thought it initially, maybe 4 or 5 days, it will be curtailed. No, then it is a deliberate mobilizations, and I see Assam rivals being accused of involving in protecting the cookies, particularly this Assam rifle, and some of the Indian army were accused. Similarly, Manipur police was accused of involving with the Meitei groups. The fundamental question as a citizen you should have asked is, how is that our security agencies and law enforcing agencies have been communalized in this fashion? You can't blame the police only and be a holy cow on the other. You have to investigate. Police and Assam Rifle had fought. They were on the media. If any army officers who have been trained in IMA and know what is a professional soldier should have been offended by this happening, he should have taken action. Nahi karega. They will make statement as if this is on one side of the communal party, conflict mein is side mein is side. That should have been avoided. ड्रोन इस्तेमाल किया गया नहीं किया गया, NIA से ड्रोन इस्तेमाल किया गया है, Indian Army ex officers से नहीं किया गया, as if supporting one communal. This has been a mess that we all created. It's not at the government. I have done studies on media's reporting. You just see, people are quite easy. जाके क्या किया उसमें? It's a shame. Not only on the politicians, our journalists. History will take. It is a small state, peripheral, you don't care. Had the kind of reporting been investigated in the national media, people would have been in a hue and cry here. And this is recently another report comes out by this PUCL. Blatant lies When I said that, you don't publish maximally, Kuki ka dead bodies were shown and Meitei's victims were not shown. Even I raised the issue that it's not about the dead bodies being shown. I was objecting to the very fact that you are using dead bodies. Corona ka time pe we protested against the Western media, remember?
Yeah.
Ganga mein bodies floating and, Europeans dying, you don't do the same thing. How is that this academics and jury members dare to publish without contextualizing, trying to incite people's passion by showing dead bodies? Ulti सीधी बात करते जा रहे हैं ये सब. So we are all involved. So it's time now. Even the Prime Minister's visit, जो भी हो गया. All that I am requesting is, have at least the sincerity to say कैसे solve करना. So cutting across cross section of the people, Prime Minister should start talking. What's wrong if he goes in Imphal and inviting our CLP leader and political all party leaders of other parties and bataiye what can be done? That's called sincerity. Coming here and show and then cleaning up the city, and he's only visiting in one spot, delivering some speech and going back, and symbolic meeting with some IDPs. Is it going to be a show? I said this is not a question of BJP or Congress. It is question of addressing a human tragedy called Manipur crisis.
But BJP always accuses Congress of politicizing the situation to their advantage.
This is what they are doing. In psychoanalysis, Sigmund Freud said something called projection. जो अपना जो काम करते हैं ना, खुद करते हैं ना, किसी और की place में थोप रहा है ये. They are just projecting on others. They are the one who politicize. शुरू से बोला कांग्रेस ने ये किया इसीलिए ये crisis हो रहा है.
Yes, Biren Singh especially has been blaming Chidambaram.
Chidambaram से कांग्रेस, instead of law and order कैसे maintain करना है? Why should in front of me people have been slaughtering each other? I have my police force, army. कहीं नहीं पाया. खुद ने ऑर्डर दिया, सेंट्रल ट्रूप्स ने रिफ्यूज किया. सबके सामने है. इंडिया में कभी सुना आपने? सीएम ऑर्डर समथिंग and the security forces refuse to talk. And the rest of the country is happy because you are calling him a communal blah blah blah. Fact is that whoever he is, he was a CM. जब तक वो CM स्टेट के CM रहेगा, जो बोलेगा, when he is saying that there's a constitutional crisis if you are not follow it, if you are not going to have the legitimacy, then you should have removed him. वो रखेगा. Then the blame is on this one. You don't even remember he has 2 cabinet ministers from the Kuki communities.
Yeah.
Or all the while people are pointing, communal government. Why don't those 2 Kuki MLAs have the minister have the gut and the morality to resign and join their people? क्यों नहीं किया गया? They are all responsible for this bloodshed, all these politicians.
So you have been advocating, the need for the political dialogue and, always, even in parliament you address so. But, whenever center claims, the Ministry of Home Affairs claims that whenever they try to reach out to both the communities, they refuse to come on the talking table side by side. So they have been doing it separately. So how can this, this trust factor be again, evoked among both the communities that they can trust each other?
Let me reverse this question. The way we ask question is already setting of the things. I have been saying, how did this crisis become a Kuki Meitei problem? आप सोचिए, पहले बार कुकी लोगों का गुस्सा किसके ऊपर था? गवर्नमेंट के ऊपर था. They were against the government and especially CM. How did it allows them to attack Meitei civilian houses? It is a government problem होता. आपके साथ problem है government के साथ. आपका खुद का community का member है cabinet minister. है कि नहीं? तो your anger against the government, how did it translate into abusing the community? Then slowly they keep on saying that this is not because of the 2 communities. धीरे धीरे it becomes a communal problem. I am still saying that this is fundamentally must be addressed as a constitutional crisis of the state. You don't say when Sikhs and Hindus fight, when Muslims and Hindu fight, ये आपस में बात कर लो. Do you say that? First you try to take accountability. ये पुलिस ने action क्यों नहीं लिया? Isn't it the approach? Why did not the community, instead of going to the community, fundamental you should have addressed? It's all other crises you see. You fundamental as a DC ने क्यों action नहीं लिया? Magistrate ने उसी में DM साहब ने क्यों क्या लिया था? पुलिस का role क्या था? army ka kya tha, political decision making. That is what our focus is, not on Hindu community and Muslim. This is only done in when you detach yourself from that and you see them as other. So when the Westerners look at India's Hindu-Muslim problem, they will barely see it as a governmental, constitutional problem. They will see it as a community problem.
Ethnic violence.
So the same thing is that people have been turning, all the sensible people who have been talking about colonialism, anti-colonialism in this country are talking, dono se baatchit karna chahiye bola. Fundamentally, it is a constitutional government problem. Officials' ka responsibility kya hai? Why is the district level administration fail? How is that army officers have failed to respond? Don't tell me that CRPC 131, read. It's already a standing order. If you have a public order में disturb होगा, life and property में threaten हो गया, तो you are supposed to respond. And 2 divisions of army, itana army भेजने के बाद, you have allowed this and you are turning into as if you are solving a problem. European trying to solve Hutus and Tutsis problem in Rwanda. This is not. This is 2 sets of citizens turn against each other because the government did not stop.
Yeah. Recently, former Chief Minister Mr. Biren Singh claimed that 42,000 outsiders from Myanmar have entered since 2024, fueling again the tensions. How should Manipur address the problem of this border influx, as per you?
See, I have been saying there are 2 things you need to remember. It's a very sensitive issue. People tend to communalize and twist it. First thing first, as a new modern state, post-colonial Indian state has porous border. This is called a legacy issue. Punjab border में भी होता है, Bangladesh की border में भी बाद में, इस पाकिस्तान में भी border issues have been porous because the European state की तरह we don't have this firm वाला. वो बाद में आया ना, तो you have 65 जो जंग हुआ, उसी की बाद ही some borders again were fenced and taken. Before that, people were moving 65 tak. 71 war ke baad fir se some more things have. So the border has been porous in this country and there are people who are moving back and forth from this side. This is one side of the story. Manipur is also a border state and you have this terrain. It's a mountainous, it's part of the Himalayan fold. So you have a porous
border.
Second issue, Burma, the then Burma, now Myanmar, has been unstable for a long time. So people keep on trooping in.
Yeah.
Right from the partition ke baad, lot of Indian citizens, especially from the Rangoon areas, they track down and many of them settle down in Manipur. So, hamara jo Manipur ke state population, if you see, from 1931 census, 41 and 51 and 61, you will see a quantum jump in the population of the state in post-independence period because lot of these people have come in and settled down. Third, since the 1960s ka jo unstable position se leke aata hai, and there is also a pull factor. We have this reservation policies, so people get into similar ethnic group, they come. But series of these things is continuing. This 42 is only a recent. So we have a long-term history of this influx. Okay, so we need to, I have been saying this from the day one, that we need a policy to distinguish between citizens and a non-citizen.
But now that the government is saying that we are trying to do the fencing and
I'm saying that we have to be, don't only here and now, it's a legacy issue. I'm saying that this is nothing to do with BJP or Congress issue. This is, I'm saying it's a legacy issue.
Okay.
And series of these things, you need to distinguish. Isme complication kyun hua usme? Because jo population बढ़ गया, because there's a pull factor also. Some people started justifying this. We don't recognize this international boundary. You will see people objecting to this fencing because hamara people is on the other side. But I said, jab tak nation state mein, if you believe in and the citizenship, then you can't allow the Punjabis from Lahore to come into Punjab. You can't allow Bengalis to come in from Bangladesh here, whether Hindu or ya Muslim. Whether the Tamils from Sri Lanka's northern side will not be allowed. Similarly, we can't allow people to go on that side. This is the logic of the nation state. तो मैं ये कह रहा हूँ कि citizen कौन है, non-citizen कौन है, we need to delineate. NRC is one, updating, but there are a lot of issues around that. Some people, including Modi, says that नहीं करेगा, only Assam was specific. Some people are politicizing, Congress kya kahega, hum to karenge kind of thing. The fact of the matter is NRC is a problem. Again, but I said, you call it by any other name. NRC nahi to koi aur na. It's like, you remember, process to hona chahiye. If you
To
remember,
identify, yeah.
identify citizens kaun hai, but you should also have the other, you know, considering the multiple dimension from Assam experience, you can learn it. But all this problem is not to stop from delineating who is a citizen
And
and
who
who
is
is
not.
not. I must mention one last point, why it becomes problem. So there is a uh, ethno-nationalist mobilization in the Kuki-Chin area. They call it Zalengam, a independent country to be carved out, you know. So uska ideology has infiltrated to some segment of the people in Manipur. So for them, you know, like Kuki state, and you have separate administration, many see these as nothing but a halfway home. जो ना पेशेंट जो हॉस्पिटल से निकल के तुरंत घर में नहीं भेजता ना, they have something called a halfway home. So it's like a halfway stopover. Ultimate goal is to, you can see there's some cookie intellectuals saying that India government should be wary of the fact that there are 3 million cookie chin in this area. Why do they say this? If you're only fighting within Manipur, why did you threaten Indian state by saying that there are 3 million cookie chin population? This is said by their intellectual who serves in Indian universities. You understand? So that complicates this issue of influx. So once you have consolidated, so that's the conflict. So there is a complicated history. So this 42 for me is only a recent. The only thing to resolve for me is to understand its historicity and then do a process, learning from Assam experience, a judicious process of delineating who is a citizen and who is not. And that we need to do it.
Sir, poppy cultivation is again a big issue as far as Biren Singh, campaign is concerned. He says war on drugs. But do you think that is just a propaganda? Because even MHA sees it as a threat to the national security.
See, this is also, this has been deeply communalized. Fact of the matter is, drug has been a problem in Northeast India for a long time. Incidentally, my first postgraduate dissertation is on drug addiction. I did it in the 80s.
Oh, wow.
Okay, I remember that time when the Singapore had a stringent laws enacted to punish this trafficking. India become an easy passage. That's why we enacted our own Psychotropic Substance Act, and because we realized that. But Manipur is one of the routes through which these things have been coming in. Now, Golden Triangle, there are plantations and growing manufacturing, all of these things were in the Golden Triangle. But the UN report tells us this has shifted to the eastern part of the Golden Triangle, which is Myanmar. So it has a trickle down effect on Manipur.
Manipur also.
It's a massive cultivation. This is a threat. Now, instead of addressing this real thing, you are trying to game political game of usne kiya, I'm saying is, they are a synthetic drug. Not only this plant, one of the major threat comes from the synthetic drugs as well. Our youths have been spoiled. I'm saying it since 80s onwards, there's been a problem. A renewed thing has come in because I learned from my sources ground, even manufacturing small units have now started functioning in these areas. So UN report says major plantation has shifted to Myanmar. We are neighbor. Manipur mein jo aaya, no one should be surprised. This is a major threat for the country. This narcotics is a big time issue. Given the armed conflict situation there, you will have a much more complicated picture. So you need to handle this. It's a threat. But I think that what these politicians is doing is, they are communalizing it on one side and doing as a political game. Instead of, there are a lot of counter accusations says that elites are involved. You see that one BJP fellow was arrested crores of rupees by a person. He was released on bail.
Yes.
His driver said he was the one involved. Can you believe this? This is BJP. And this is a cookie guy who was caught and who was accused of shielding him, the communal what they call Biren Singh. So Biren Singh is accused of shielding a cookie guy who was caught in
Drug.
a drug, who was released by the court saying that his driver is the one.
Yeah.
So usme honesty kya hai bhai? But I say beyond all these things, I take poppy and drug is huge. It can destroy us, our political cultures, the finance that can come from these groups, political democracy ka practice bhi khatam ho jayega se. So it's a major threat. The country should take it very seriously, this one.
So last question, when these weapons were looted, the Home Minister also appealed, the governor there also appealed, but still, many of the weapons are still unaccounted for. Do you think that there was a state role when these weapons were looted? And right now also, when these weapons are not being returned, is the state aware where these weapons are? Is there
India,
some kind of complicity?
yeah, Indian state is not a puppet, not a banana republic. It's one of the powerful states. We have intelligence network, we have armed forces. They must be knowing what is what. But again here, people have been doing propaganda, cartoons hai, licensed gun hai, this community have looted arms, this. It's simply distracting and trapping. Fact is, huge arms are available, not the looting only. At the beginning, you have images of M16 rifles. ये कहाँ से आया? लूटे तो हो ही नहीं सकता. Indian Army doesn't possess M16 rifles. M16 rifle पकड़ने वाला, firing करने वाला, you have visuals of people who are holding those assault rifles. So we are focusing on looting on this, valley people have looted. But let me tell you the sequence. First looting of arms कहाँ पे शुरू हुआ? Churachandpur gun house. That was intervening night between 3rd and 4th May. On the 3rd afternoon, you see this armed cookie men in Torbung area, which went viral. So people said, our people have been burned down with this armed men. So it's no longer two community. That has happened before, but it has a different image. You remember that when was the first looting of arms happened? Is after all these events. Now, does it mean that you will support? I said no. If the arms have been looted, then the accountability should be fixed. Similarly, why this violence was allowed to linger on? All these people, many of these civilians were forced to take up arms because state failed to protect them. It's their right to defend themselves. Whether some are being used by politicians or intelligence agency is a different matter. I'm not talking about that dimension. There are issues of that kind also. Politicians or the intelligence agencies using them. You check, we're talking about these two groups, armed group. Husband is somebody and somebody is sitting as an MLA inside the assembly. Linkages, you are only talking about one side of the stories. I am saying on both sides you will see there is a nexus between these armed groups and political class. Find them out. And there are arms beyond looting. Let's accept. So what you are doing, this narrative, you are targeting one community. Even there, the feeling is that you are only targeting the Meiteis. And what happened to those armed groups? Has there been any investigation? So fundamentally, the civilian ko arm karna. You remember Sarwa Julum? Privatization of weapon, जो army वाला. It's a state का legitimate right है. It's a classic definition given by Weber, which everybody knows. State is a state precisely because it claims the monopoly of legitimate use of physical force. It is a direct challenge to that power of the state by armed groups. You vested interest, you nurture one group and you try to criminalize another, that will not work. You have to have a judicious way of disarming them. That's what I have been saying from the day one. If you listen to my interview, I said the writ of the state must work. Indian state must assert its authority. As clean as that. Don't talk in the binary of two communities. First of all, it's the state responsibility to ensure that people go back to their homes, these IDPs.
Yes,
isn't it?
That is the big thing. Yes.
And that also they say, आप बातचीत कर लो, इसके लिए भी बातचीत कर लो. When Hindu and Muslim next time any riot happen, will this intellectual in this country and official will say, talk to each other? You will not point a finger on the administration. It's the state. Article 12 defines a state as the beginning of the fundamental right in the constitution. हम लोग संविधान की बात करते हो. It's the state who are supposed to ensure entire fundamental right is an obligation imposed on the state. Anybody who reads the constitution will know this. फंडामेंटल राइट को किसने इंश्योर करना है?
Yes.
स्टेट ने इंश्योर करना है. इसीलिए फंडामेंटल राइट का जो चैप्टर है संविधान में आर्टिकल 12 से शुरू होता है, which defines द स्टेट चीज क्या है. Then all this thing comes in. 32. देखो सर, this
Yeah.
we have failed state. We have been asking a wrong question. It is not cookies and
Meiteis.
Meitei. It's fundamentally, it's a political issue that, you know, administrative responsibility hai. We will ensure, we will talk, but you will not have a right to say Meitei will not be allowed to travel on this road or cookies will not be allowed. Who are you to tell me that? I am the state. It's my citizen will have a free right to go. You have any other problem? I will talk.
Yes.
Separate administration भी आप बातचीत करोगे दोनों में. In that case, will you allow these people, you know, talk to Indian population and these political armed groups who are demanding the restoration of sovereignty of Manipur or Nagaland? अरे भैया कोई बंगाल से लाओ citizen community, ये alienation वाले बातचीत कर लो खत्म हो जाएगा. Will you do that? It's a political responsibility. That's why I'm saying Prime Minister's visiting, I'm still seeing this insult. Seriousness of trying to reach out to the political class, have a chat with them. I want to see a filmmaker that one prominent citizen Aribam Sham ko milna hai, ye ko milna hai, a women activist ko milna hai, students ka leader ko, 5-10 minute ke liye baatchit karna hai, appeal karna hai usko. That is the sincerity, that is the Raj Dharma. That is what you expect from the Prime Minister of the largest democracy with 5,000 years old civilization.
Thank you so much, sir. We hope that, you know, the center and even the Prime Minister is listening to you, and, you know, he follows his Raj Dharma. So thank you so much.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.